Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going over basically the two witnesses that are supposed to preach to Jerusalem leading up to the second coming, otherwise known as the two candlesticks, the two olive trees. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you end up liking it, hit the notification bell. Leave your comments, especially if you have additional information and any additional sources. I would definitely appreciate that. So this came up because I did my video about how Elder Bednar is in the Middle East right now, and he's going to be there for a week. This started on Friday. Friday the 22nd. So I assume that he's going to be there till this Friday. So he's going to be in the Middle East. I don't know all the places that he's going to be going to. I tried to look that up. I looked up. There's a couple different articles talking about it, but neither one of them say exactly where he's going. But his first stop was Amman, Jordan. I just wanted to highlight the fact that he went to Amman. There's probably nothing really to it. But I was like, Ammon, that sounds kind of like, Adam-ondi-Ahman. Now, linguistically, I don't believe that it is the same thing, because I did some additional research. As you may already know, or maybe you don't, Ammon signifies God, right? So basically the translation of Adam-ondi-Ahman is, it means the place where Adam dwelt. The whole term means Valley of God where Adam dwelt. That's essentially what it means. And Ammon signifies God. I don't know if you go back, if there's any relation to this in Amman, Jordan. I did look up Amman, Jordan, and that comes from, if you go to, if you research it, this is basically the city where the Ammonites of the Old Testament lived. And they are descended from Lot. You remember the story when Lot and his family escaped Sodom and Gomorrah. His wife died because she looked back and she turned to a pillar of salt. And then his two daughters essentially had children with him, wanting to perpetuate his lineage. And there were two sons that were born. One was Ammon, and then the other one was Moab. All right, so Ammon and Moab were half brothers. And this city is basically where Ammon's descendants located themselves. And if you go to the map over here, here's Ammon right here, okay, right here. So it's kind of by the Dead Sea, not too far away from Jerusalem. As you can see, it's the capital of Jordan. If you look at the Bible dictionary map, here's Rabbath, which this is basically the area right here where Ammon is. So pretty much, I don't know if it's like actually in the borders, but it's like bordering Gad and Reuben, essentially. And there's a whole history about these people. They have always been hostile to Israel, and there were a lot of skirmishes. They would ally themselves with the enemies of Israel. So there hasn't been very good relations between Israel and the Ammonites. But of course, the people that live there today probably have very little to do with the original Ammonites, because many different groups have come and gone. I was reading that there were these people called the Circassians that were basically transplanted here from up north. So anyway, I don't know. There's probably nothing to it, but so Elder Bednar is starting off his tour in the Middle East here at Amman that has this history. It's a city that's about the size. It's smaller, but it's close to the size of the Phoenix metro area. So it's a fairly large city. It was saying here that the city is among the most popular locations in the Arab world for multinational corporations to set up their regional offices. Alongside Doha, that's in Qatar, and only behind Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. It's expected that in the next 10 years, these three cities will capture the largest share of multinational corporation activity in the region. So it's kind of a major city in the Middle East, right? It's like It's a power player. Here it is again. You can see Ammon right here, very very close to Israel. Right here's the Jordan River, so it's just like right on the other side of the Jordan River. Here's Jerusalem. Here's Ammon. So I'll try and follow this story to see where else he goes or what other information we get. Now, what I'm going to be talking about is the two witnesses because, again, I've heard from other YouTubers that there's a prophecy of the two Davids. I've done a video about this. The only thing that I can find that I can substantiate about two Davids is a prophecy from Joseph Smith, but it doesn't have to do with the two witnesses. It's a prophecy that first there was the original David, who was the king of Israel, in the Old Testament, and then in a future date, in the end days, the latter days, there would be yet again another king named David from his, being descended from that lineage, that would be a king in Israel, and that's it. That prophecy has nothing to do with the two witnesses. So if you know about a prophecy talking about the two witnesses, right, the two candlesticks, the two olive trees, both having the name of David, then either email me in the About section of my channel or put it in the comments below. But I have not been able to verify that or find any source for that. But that kind of led me to, because, there have been people talking about it on Facebook in this Second Coming group that I'm part of. There was some links that were dropped. A couple of them I couldn't make any link there between the name David and the two witnesses. But there was another person that essentially posted this right here. This is on the church website. I think this is an Institute, Old Testament Student Manual for Institute, Kings through Malachi. And this talks all about that time period in which the two witnesses are going to come on the scene. And this is actually pretty good information. There's a lot of stuff here. Somehow I didn't know. I felt like I knew quite a bit about the Second Coming, like all the different theories, everything, because I've been intensely interested in it since I was like young, around the age of 12. But somehow I missed a few things, so stick around. Maybe you already knew some of this stuff, but let's just get into it. So this chapter is called the Battle of Armageddon, and this has to do with the two witnesses, right? It's not surprising considering its great importance in the winding up scenes of the Earth's celestial existence to find that prophets, ancient and modern, have spoken at great lengths and in much detail about the final war that will usher in the millennium. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Zechariah, John, Joseph Smith, and others have all talked about the battle and the events associated with it. That's something I didn't know. I didn't know that all of them talked about it. I certainly knew about John. It doesn't surprise me about Joseph Smith, Isaiah, but anyway, it's just that's a lot of people talking about this one particular war slash battle. Okay, let's move on. Let us now examine what the prophetic record reveals, leaving out all the unsubstantiated speculation and discussion. And there's definitely a lot of that right now, a lot of speculation. Everything that I do, I try and substantiate it with scriptures, quotes from prophets, etc. Because if you start to just kind of like wonder and guess, like what I was doing over here, okay, yes, this over here was speculation, but I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to be like, I really think that this has to do. No, we need what we need to put our stock into is stuff that we can actually tie down to reality or to sources, right? This is just fun things to think about, and there's nothing wrong with thinking about fun things, but I don't think that you should try to really push it or like say that something's right unless you have some kind of source that backs it up. Okay, the information in the scriptures was given by the prophets. The prophets speak for themselves. This summary is provided only to guide your study of the prophetic sources, not to become the subject of your study itself. So you can't just use this manual. You have to like dig into it if you really want to know. But this will point you in the right direction, if nothing else. And this does have a lot of really good information. One of the most important highways of antiquity passed through the valley of where Armageddon is, the Jezreel Valley. I actually have it up here. So you have Jerusalem right here. Again, here's Ammon, and then up here's Nazareth. And kind of just south of Nazareth, there's like a plain. You can see here Megiddo. This is where, Armageddon would happen, or where the name comes from. Let's see. The Via Maris, or Way of the Sea, ran up the coast from Egypt, turned inland just south of present-day Haifa and Mount Carmel, followed an important pass through the hills, and then dropped into the plain of Esdraelon. Because of the strategic importance of the pass, a fortified city lay at the entrance into the valley. The city was Megiddo, which name means in Hebrew the place of troops. Okay, so right here, Megiddo, the place of troops. From the earliest days, the Valley of Armageddon, or the plain of Esdraelon, has been the site of great battles. It has felt the tramp of Egyptian foot soldiers, heard the shouts of Assyrian battalions. No doubt that would have been during of course, the Assyrian conquest of the northern kingdom. Witnessed the passing of Nebuchadnezzar's Babylonian troops to take over the southern kingdom. Watched as Jewish guerrillas fought Roman legionnaires. Heard the cries of crusaders and Muslims locked in battle, and have felt the crunch of Israeli troops maneuvering against Arab forces in modern days, right? Megiddo, the place of troops, one would be hard-pressed to find a more appropriate name for this tiny area of the world's geography. So let's take a look at that again. Holy cow. So we have the Assyrian conquest that happened over here. You had Babylonian troops that came over here to go south and take the southern kingdom. It said the fight against Romans, there were skirmishes, or there was battles that occurred here. After that, Crusaders coming from Europe came down here, right, to the Holy Land, and there were fights there. And then in modern days, there was the modern day wars between Israel and the Arab nations that have tried to destroy Israel. So not really a peaceful, historically not a peaceful area. Okay, some erroneously conclude that the final battle of the war will be fought there. But as Elder Bruce R. McConkie pointed out, the final struggles will center around Jerusalem, though they may extend to Megiddo. That's something I guess it kind of rings a bell, honestly, but I think I either forgot about that or just didn't know that. Because you hear that a lot, that the final battle is going to be there, Armageddon, right? That's going to be where the final battle is. But really, the final siege, or the final part of the war, it centers around Jerusalem. It centers around Jerusalem. Some 60 air miles north of Jerusalem lies the ancient city of Megiddo, now called Tel El Mutasalim. Really? Let me just look that up really quick. That doesn't pull up anything. Okay, well, whatever. I know that it's over here. I did that research. I didn't see this name before. In its north-central Palestinian location, Megiddo overlooks the Great Plain of Esdraelon, an area of some 20 by 14 miles, in which many great battles took place anciently. Megiddo is the older Hebrew from Armageddon, or Har-Mageddon, meaning Mount or Hill of Megiddo, or Hill of Battles. It is the valley of Megiddo, or Megiddo, mentioned in Zechariah. Um, at the very moment of the second coming of our Lord, all nations shall be gathered against Jerusalem to battle. Okay, and the Battle of Armageddon, obviously covering the entire area from Jerusalem to Megiddo, and perhaps more, will be in progress. As John expressed it, the kings of the earth and of the whole world will be gathered to the battle of that great day of God Almighty, into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. Then Christ, coming as a thief, will come as a thief, meaning unexpectedly, and the dramatic upheavals promised to accompany his return will take place. It is incident to this battle of Armageddon that the supper of the great God shall take place. So that's like another thing I guess I didn't really, the supper of the great God. And it is the same battle described by Ezekiel as the war with Gog and Magog. Okay, so from President Joseph Fielding Smith, one thing we're given by these prophets definitely to understand is that the great last conflict before Christ shall come will end at the siege of Jerusalem. So we are given to understand that when the armies gather in Palestine, when the armies gather in Palestine will be the time when the Lord shall come in judgment and to make the eventful decision, which will confound the enemies of his people and establish them in their ancient land forever. Obviously, this is an event of great importance to the world, and the Lord has given a wealth of detail so that those who will listen can be prepared and be comforted as the greatest war in the history of the world begins to unfold. Yeah, it's so interesting to me that there's so many people that just kind of like treat these things like, you don't need to waste your time looking at that. No man knows the day or the hour, oh, it's long ways away, or just people that just don't do their due diligence and read the scriptures. These books, the book of Revelation, it was written and meant for our benefit, so that we could have some idea of what's going on and what's going to happen in the end, right? So we've been counseled a lot to don't fear, don't be afraid, and have hope, and be prepared spiritually and temporally. But just don't be afraid. God is in control of everything, right? Okay, so according to the prophets, some important events must take place before the battle actually begins. And there's a list of seven, that's funny, 7 things. Okay, the house of Israel will be gathered from among the heathen, the Gentiles, and return to their own land, which that's essentially happened now. The land of Israel will be rebuilt and re-inhabited by the covenant people. That's happened. The land will become highly productive and fruitful, even like the Garden of Eden. Well, I don't know about being like the Garden of Eden right now, but Israel definitely is a powerhouse. There's a lot of science that's going on there. It seems like its economy is pretty good. It's not a poor nation. So I think that they definitely are highly productive and fruitful from what I've seen in the news. There will be one nation in the land of Israel again. That has happened. Of course, there's the Palestinian-Israeli struggle and conflict, but there is one nation in the land of Israel again. The Palestinians haven't been recognized as a country yet, or a separate state. Number 5, Jerusalem will be reestablished as the capital city of the Israelites. Now, this one right here, that's interesting. This is interesting because you'll remember, let me look it up. Okay, when did Trump move the embassy to Jerusalem? I think it was Okay, so May 14th, 2018, to coincide with the 70th anniversary of the Israeli Declaration of Independence. Wow. So there's kind of a lot to that. Now, you may be like, well, it's just the embassy. It's not like they're officially, making that the capital. But it kind of is. Like the United States doing that was a huge event, and it was celebrated by the Israelis, and it basically it kind of shifted the status of Jerusalem in a way by us recognizing it as Israel's capital, and uh, making this official move of the embassy from Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is like the other main city in Israel, right here, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So it was so big, in fact, that I'm sure that you've seen this before. There's the Trump coin, Trump Temple coin, half shekel King Cyrus Donald Trump Jewish Temple Mount Israel coin. Let's look at some images here. They felt like this was really important, a really important event. Like I'm talking about the Jews. Why won't this pull up? Okay, well, whatever. So you can see here you have Trump in the foreground, King Cyrus in the background. So that was really big to them. They made a temple coin to commemorate that event. It's like a huge step toward building the third temple, essentially by just giving that much more recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So when we're looking at number 5 right here, that might be that might have happened. That might have happened just within the last few years. Let's see really quick what Zechariah has to say. Zechariah 1:16 through 17. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. What does it say in chapter 2:12? And the Lord shall inherit Judah, his portion in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again. What's it say in 12:6? In that day I will make the governors of Judah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. Okay, what does 3 Nephi 20:46 say? Verily, verily, I say unto you, all these things shall surely come, even as the Father hath commanded me. Then shall this covenant which the Father hath covenanted with his people be fulfilled. And then shall Jerusalem be inhabited again with my people, and it shall be the land of their inheritance. Oh, it's amazing. I think it's amazing. Okay, so in fact, I'm pretty sure, let me just double check. I should have done this before the video, but I'm pretty sure that Israel views Jerusalem as their capital and their eternal capital. Jerusalem, let's just go to the Wikipedia article. The city in Western Asia on the plateau between the Mediterranean and the Dead Sea. It's one of the oldest cities in the world and considered holy by 3 major Abrahamic religions. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim Jerusalem as their capital, as Israel maintains its primary governmental institutions there. In the state of Palestine, there is no state of Palestine yet, and the state of Palestine ultimately foresees it as its seat of power. Neither claim, however, is widely recognized internationally. See, so that's why right here. Neither claim, however, is widely recognized internationally. Well, those scales kind of got tipped when the United States moved its embassy. The most powerful country in the world, right? A leader in the world. They moved their embassy to Jerusalem. So it was a significant boost, right? Let's look at this. How many embassies? What? How many embassies have been moved to Jerusalem? Because it wasn't just us. Like after we did it, there have been more. As of September 2024, countries operate embassies to Israel in Jerusalem. Through though the handful vowing to make the move. 12 countries operate honorary consulates accredited to Israel in Jerusalem, and 9 countries operate consulates. Um, let's see. I wish I knew what those countries are. Anyway, that's not important. So, number five. I think that may have actually, I don't know, been more substantiated and possibly fulfilled within these last several years in 2018. Remember 2018, you guys? Remember 2018? May 14th, 2018. May 14th, that's Israel's Independence Day, right? 2018, that's the year that President Nelson became prophet of the church, right? So he became prophet in January. He had his first general conference in April as prophet. And then just a month later, this is when this move happened. And it happened on the 70th anniversary, which that's a big deal because if you follow some other like Second Coming channels, especially like evangelical ones, they talk about how we're in the fig tree generation, which they take it from the New Testament where Christ is talking about the fig tree and the signs of the times. And when you see the fig tree, which represents Israel, start to produce or come to life or whatever you want to say, then those that are of that generation will see all these things come to pass, meaning the second coming and everything leading up to it. So they've interpreted 70 as a generation. It's set at, I can't remember what they base it on, but 70 is a generation, and then up to 80 years if by strength, right? So we haven't quite made it to that 80th year, but we're like in that time frame. If they actually have something there, if they're right about that, we're living in a very, we're like living in the red zone essentially right now at this point in time. So President Nelson becomes prophet. Israel has its 70th anniversary. United States moves its embassy to Jerusalem, essentially tipping the scales in recognizing Jerusalem as the capital. Fascinating. Judah will become powerful in politics and warfare. Yep, that's definitely already happened. I don't think it's official, but I think it's believed that they have nuclear weapons. They're definitely powerful in warfare. They've been able to fight off all these surrounding countries. Even within, I think it was like within the first 24 to 48 hours after they declared independence, they were attacked, and they were able to win. They've won like all these wars. No one can take them down. And they definitely have sway in the world. They have sway with us, don't they? Like the United States has a special relationship with Israel. And anyway, yeah, they've definitely become powerful in politics and warfare. A great combination, okay, combination like secret combinations, a great combination of organizations serving Satan will arise in the last days. And if you're watching this channel, you're probably already aware of that. Hopefully you are. If not, keep watching my channel. I'm not like a big secret combination channel, but I do touch on it. And there are other LDS YouTubers that talk about it as well. Specifically, Our Awful Situation. Brother Guerrero talks about it. Last Dispensation, he's talked about it. Watcher Palmer. Those are kind of like the main ones that I've watched when it comes to secret combinations. This combination has several names. The beast out of the sea, representing the kingdoms of the earth. The great and abominable church, the church of the devil, the great whore, and the mother of abominations. Okay, Elder George Q. Morris of the Quorum of the Twelve stated that some of the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century, right, so from 1900 until 1999, were part of this coalition. So this right here, these great combinations, that's already started in the 20th century, according to Elder George Q. Morris. The Savior recognized the domination of Satan over the world generally and called him the Prince of the world, but in a special way, in the way that Brother Ezra Taft Benson has referred to. He has entered into the politics of the world, among the nations of the world, and already subjugated about 1 billion people of the world, and by a dire, sanguinary, I think that means bloody, because like that's like sangre in Spanish and Latin, so by a dire, bloody, and deadly philosophy has brought death to millions and has brought slavery to almost 1 billion people. Okay, we know that Ezra Taft Benson, he was that was one of his main messages, were the modern day Gadiant robbers and these secret combinations. And that's another one of those topics that people like to ignore and just act like it's not happening, or you know, that's just like crazy people talking. You know, that's one of the big deals with what's going on right now with the pandemic and the vaccine. And I've already said I've gone ahead and done it because I'm trying to follow the admonitions and the advice from the general authorities, specifically the prophet. I prayed about it and got my confirmation. That's not what this video is about, but look, this is one of the things that have to happen before the Battle of Armageddon, and I would say that this has happened, and it looks like it's been happening since the 20th century. Okay, let me take a little drink really quick. We're doing a lot of talking here. Ezekiel and Jeremiah indicated areas that will be involved and named Israel as the target of the war. Ezekiel named Gog of the land of Magog. So Gog and the land is Magog. Gog being the person, the prince of Meshech and Tubal, as the leader of the forces that would come against Israel. Magog, Meshech, and Tubal were ancient peoples in the northern part of Asia Minor. Gog is a symbolic name for the leader or leaders, so not just necessarily one person, of this great evil power that will arise in the last days. Ezekiel named Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, that's down in Africa, Libya, that's northern Africa, Gomer, and Togarma as being in alliance with Gog. Okay, these designations refer to general areas of the ancient world. So a list of modern nations fighting in Armageddon cannot be compiled from these sources. Now, in case you were wondering, though, if it is, you know, roughly in those areas, let's just pretend that it is. Even though, you know, I guess we can't say for sure. Let's just take a look at the map. So here's Israel, right? Of course, over here, here's Iran. And we know right now specifically there's a big thing going on between Israel and Iran because Iran's trying to develop nuclear weapons. And specifically, just a little while ago, just a few weeks ago, Israel was saying that within a month they would have enough weapons-grade uranium, I think, to produce a nuclear bomb, and that they're not going to let them do that. So, and this has been like a thing for a while. I don't need to tell you that if you've been watching the news, between Israel and Iran specifically. But so we had Persia, or Iran in other words, and then Ethiopia is down here, right? basically on the Horn of Africa, or like right there close to it. Libya is right here in northern Africa. So Libya, Ethiopia, Persia, and then the other places, Gomer and Togarmah, uh, those are ancient places, but I looked up what I could to try and figure out where those would be. Looks like there's some people that have already done that work. I checked out a few different maps just to kind of like make sure that everyone was like in agreement, and it seems like all across the board, everyone kind of agrees that Gomer and uh, Togarmah are essentially here in the Anatolian or Turkey, essentially modern day Turkey. Here's another map right here that it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, here's the Mediterranean, here's Israel right here, this yellow area, and then here you can see Gomer and Togarmah in what is modern day Turkey. So going back here, so basically like surrounding Israel, here's like on the east, north, south, and west, right? And it's interesting because I wonder if Ezekiel just kind of like mentioned those areas because they perfectly surround Israel from all four cardinal directions. Um, so it may be kind of symbolic. He may just be saying like literally from like all around Israel, everyone's going to be gathered in war against them. So yeah, okay. Now, Elder Bruce R. McConkie said, the prophecies do not name the modern nations which will be fighting for and against Israel. For and against. But the designation of Gog and Magog is given to the combination of nations which are seeking to overthrow and destroy the remnant of the Lord's chosen seed. Number 3, the prophets agreed that all nations should be joined in this alliance in one way or another. Now, that's something I don't really understand, because up here, Bruce R. McConkie just said fighting for, there will be some fighting for and some against, probably the majority against. And I know I've heard, just growing up in the church, that the United States would probably be for Israel. But it also says here that the prophets agreed that all nations should be joined in this alliance in one way or another. So whatever, I'm just going to kind of, put that in the background of my mind and just kind of, I'll take note of that. The strategic objective of this great and evil alliance is clearly the nation of Israel. So, okay, Armageddon, the army of Gog. Daniel described the king of the north as coming with a great army, which others have no strength to withstand. So, if we can take that as a guide, what do we have north of Israel? Well, we have Turkey. There's been a lot going on with Turkey lately. They've been specifically under, I think his name is Erdogan or something like that. He's basically been kind of antagonistic against the United States and NATO, and he's wanting to like have more power and almost, I don't know, like they're becoming hostile. Let's just put it that way. They're becoming hostile. We know that Russia has never been a big fan, I don't think, of Israel, and they're north of there. You can't really say China. China's more east than it is north. I mean, technically, yeah, I guess China's kind of they're north, but not really. So yeah, if we can take that as a guide, I would probably say Turkey and Russia, most likely. I don't know. Daniel described the king of the north, Vladimir Putin maybe? I don't know, as coming with a great army which others have no strength to withstand, and as coming like a whirlwind with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. Elder Joseph Fielding Smith specifically identified Daniel 11 and 12 as referring to the last days. Joel stated that the army would be the greatest army in the history of the world up to that point. Elder Bruce R. McConkie, referring to the imagery of John and Joel, suggested that it is not improbable that these ancient prophets were seeing such things as men wearing or protected by strong armor, as troops of cavalry, and companies of tanks and flamethrowers, as airplanes and airborne missiles which explode, fire shells and drop bombs, and even other weapons yet to be devised in an age when warfare is the desire and love of wicked men. And that's after, these famous lines here from Revelation: teeth of lions, breastplates of iron, wings, sound of chariots of many horses running to battle, 200,000, the breastplate of fire, and anyway, fire and smoke and brimstone and so forth. Now this is interesting right here, okay? It will be partly through the aid of false religionists working miracles that so many people will join in this unholy alliance. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. He will perform miracles to do it. Okay, so how will the devil do this? How will he be able to get this war going? He will perform miracles to do it. The Bible says the kings of the earth and the great ones will be deceived by these false miracles. It says there shall be 3 unclean spirits that shall go forth working miracles, and they are spirits of devils. Where do they go? To the kings of the earth. And what will they do? Gather them up to battle unto the great day of God Almighty. Where? Into the valley of Armageddon. So this is from the Journal of Discourses, in case you're wondering where that comes from. I've never heard of this, 3 unclean spirits. And you have to wonder, okay, I know there's the temptation that, like, we're going to see the miracles, because we want this to play out like a movie. We want to, like, eat our popcorn and watch. But some of these things, we may not actually see it. These things could be going on behind closed doors. If you follow channels that talk about Gadiat and robbers these days, I think it becomes pretty clear that Satan has, like, actual, like, real, tangible power and influence in this world, because there's people that seek for him. Like, I think that he has knowledge, he has techniques. A lot of that is like the secret combinations themselves. But behind closed doors, I wouldn't be surprised, because we know from the Doctrine and Covenants that he can appear as an angel of light. There's a part in the Doctrine and Covenants that talks about that, how to tell if someone's a true messenger or if someone is one of these evil spirits, and it has to do with handshake, because they do not have a physical body with which to shake your hand. Anyway, you'll have to look that up on your own. So anyway, there could be things going on even right now, and I think there have been things going on since Cain killed Abel, where they appear to men, and they probably come in different forms and say that they're different things, whether they claim to be a god, or whether they claim to be an alien, or whatever. They can tell them whatever they want to tell them, whatever they need to say they are in order for them to believe, right? So those are my thoughts on this. I don't think that there's going to be, like, big miracles that are going to be on CNN, and we're all going to be like, whoa, okay, yeah, let's attack Israel. You guys see that? We have to attack Israel. I think it has to do with secret combinations, you guys. We know in the Book of Mormon that there was a supposed angel that appeared to, I don't know, I can't remember if it was Nahor or if it was Korihor. There was somebody that claimed that an angel appeared to him and told him to teach that there was no God, and this retard decided to do that. So there's probably things going on that we do not see, but people in powerful, like key powerful positions do, and they're like, oh, can get more power this way. So stupid. Um, but yeah, 'cause I mean, that's what people with power that really strive for power, that's what they do. They'll get power however and wherever they can get it, right? So anyway, that's enough about that. So it looks like through unclean spirits performing miracles, they're going to deceive the leaders of the world to do this. That's pretty astounding. Okay, now we're talking about the two witnesses. Gog will be thwarted by the power of the two witnesses. Uh, John the Revelator gave the most detailed picture of these two participants. They are called the two witnesses, the two olive trees, and the two candlesticks. Latter-day Revelation teaches that there are two prophets raised up to the Jewish nation who will prophesy to them after they are gathered and have built Jerusalem. So anytime now, Jerusalem they have been gathered and they have built Jerusalem. Anytime now. Let's see what DNC 7715 says really quick. Question. What is to be understood by the two witnesses in the 11th chapter of Revelation? Answer. They are two prophets that are to be raised up to the Jewish nation in the last days and at the time of the restoration, and to prophesy to the Jews after they have gathered and have built the city of Jerusalem in the land of their fathers. So the question has arisen, going back here to Elder Bednar. Is that what's going on here? Like, you know, in this article, he's in Jordan. Does he intend to stop by Israel? There's a lot of people that feel that Elder Bednar is special, and I definitely think that he is. Just look at my last video, though, about this. I point out some pretty interesting things about Elder Bednar. But again, if that two Davids prophecy actually exists, a two Davids prophecy that relates to the two witnesses, this is fascinating. It's fascinating. His area is over the Middle East. There's different theories about who the two witnesses will be, but this is one of them, and it's just something to take note of. I'm not going to be like, no, you guys know this is it. No, look at this scripture. Look at it. No, this is definitely it. You can't say anything is definitely it, really. Okay? You can read scriptures and come to an educated guess, and you can like listen to what official statements from the church and so forth, but when it comes to how things are going to play out, it's not going to be like, I don't think it's going to be clear cut. We can have a general idea of how things are going to go down, but I think we just have to keep our minds open and not get too entrenched in our own theories about things. Latter-day Revelation teaches that oh, hey, we just read that. We just read that. Elder Bruce R. McConkie wrote, these two shall be followers of the humble man, Joseph Smith, through whom the Lord of heaven restored the fullness of his everlasting gospel in this final dispensation of grace. No doubt they will be members of the Council of the 12 or of the First Presidency of the Church. Okay, so I'm going to go with that as my thinking, simply because it's Bruce R. McConkie that's saying it. And yes, I know that general authorities have their opinions and stuff like that, but until I hear something better or with more authority, I'm going to go with that. If that's what Bruce R. McConkie thinks, the man who is responsible for the chapter headings and also was part of the footnotes of the scriptures, I think he knows what he's talking about. He was an apostle. For right now, I think that's what I'm going to go with, that the two witnesses are going to be from the Quorum of the 12 or the First Presidency. It's interesting here that he doesn't say one or the other. So in his mind, he doesn't know. He doesn't know if it's going to be the prophet himself or his counselors, or if it's going to be from the Quorum of the 12. Interesting. Their prophetic ministry to rebellious Jewry shall be the same length as was our Lord's personal ministry among their rebellious forebears. That's something that I never realized, because we know that they're going to be doing it for 3.5 years. Okay, so it's about the same amount of time that Christ performed his ministry. That is interesting. I think that is really interesting. Um, these prophets will have power to pronounce great judgments upon the earth. Um, they shall have power like Elijah to call down fire from heaven to consume his enemies, and who sealed the heavens that it rained not in Israel for the space of 3.5 years. Wow. Oh, interesting. So Elijah did that for 3.5 years, no rain. That's okay. I didn't know that. And like Moses, by whose word blood and plagues lay heavily upon the Egyptians. Okay. Their miraculous power seems to be the force preventing Gog and his army from succeeding in annihilating Israel. Elder Parley P. Pratt wrote, John, in the 11th chapter of Revelation, gives us many more particulars concerning this same event. He informs us that after the city and temple are rebuilt by the Jews, the Gentiles will tread it underfoot 42 months, during which time there will be 2 prophets continually prophesying and working mighty miracles. Okay, so that's another piece of information right there. He informs us that after the city and the temple are rebuilt by the Jews, there's been talk about that. There's some people that believe that the temple has to be built by the church. But according to this, according to Parley P. Pratt, and this is in the Institute manual, it's going to be the Jews who rebuild the temple. And we know that they're trying to do that right now. We have, if you haven't seen this before, there's the Temple Institute. They have the actual schematics and the plans for the temple. They've built all the instruments. I just want to go really quick to study tools, temple mount, festivals, vessels. I just want to show you. So they already, sorry, I should have had this prepared beforehand. Visitor center. I know that there's like, okay, yeah, here it is, gallery. I wanted to go to gallery. So they have all these instruments and all these things built and ready to go for the third temple. From just like, I'm sure, painstaking study and labor, they made them all authentically. The dye that they used for the high priest garments, there was like a miracle that happened with that. There was, I believe, a sea snail, a special sea snail that they needed to be able to make. I don't know if it was the blue dye or the purple dye, but suddenly it came back into existence. Like it was gone for a while, but then it came back, and they were able to make the dye the authentic way. They've done everything the way that it's supposed to be done. You have all the the jewels here that represent the 12 tribes. These guys have done everything. So so he informs us that after the city and the temple are rebuilt by the Jews, so talking about, I can only assume, the third temple that they're trying to build, they call it the third temple, the Gentiles will tread it underfoot 42 months, during which time there will be 2 prophets continually prophesying and working mighty miracles. So I don't know if that means that the temple has to be built first and then the 2 witnesses will start their ministry, or if they could start their ministry now, and then within that time is when the temple is built. It says here, informs us that after that, the Gentiles will tread it underfoot, during which time there will be 2 prophets continually prophesying. So I'm thinking that it seems to me reading this right here that the third temple has to be built first. That's what I get out of this. What do you think? How else can you read this? This is coming from Parley P. Pratt. It's in the Institute manual. So I think this is pretty authoritative. So with what's going on with Elder Bednar, I doubt that, okay, so if he's going to be one of the witnesses, I doubt that the official ministry has happened yet or has started, but maybe this is kind of like a preparatory measure, or maybe this is just kind of like the, getting ready for that in a way. Of course, this could just be kind of routine, but I don't tend to think that anything in the church is really routine, especially with him. So, okay. And it seems that the Gentile army shall be hindered from utterly destroying and overthrowing the city while these two prophets continue. Isaiah called these prophets two sons and said they were the only hope of deliverance for Israel because they would be full of the fury of the Lord. The two sons. The two sons. The two sons of what? Isaiah 51:19 through 20. These two things are come unto thee. Who shall be sorry for thee? Desolation and destruction in the famine, in the sword. By whom shall I comfort thee? Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of the streets as a wild bull in a net. They are full of fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy God. So I guess, the sons of Israel, that must be what that means, I think. Isaiah 51:17 through 18. So the two verses before what we just read. Awake, awake, and stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the dregs of the cup of trembling and wrung them out. There is none to guide her among all the sons whom she hath brought forth, neither is there any that taketh her by the hand of all the sons that she hath brought up. You know what, let's actually go to this scripture. Let's see if there's anything in the footnotes. There's nothing for sons. There's a footnote for these two things. So that takes us to Zechariah 4:11 through 14. And it seems like that just takes us to other references to them. I'm not going to read the Revelation one, but let's see what Zechariah says. Then answered I and said unto him, What are these two olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick, and upon the left side thereof? And I answered again and said unto him, What be these two olive branches which through the two golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? And he answered me and said, Knowest thou not what these be? And I said, No, my Lord. Then said he, These are the two anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Armageddon, the final extremity. John showed that eventually the two prophets will be captured and killed by the opposing army. I didn't know that before. I thought that they were just going to be killed by the wicked among the Jews that weren't taking to their message. But this says captured and killed by the opposing army. And their bodies will be left in the streets of Jerusalem for 3 days and a half as the forces of evil engage in a great celebration over their death. Zechariah says that only 1/3 of the nation of Israel will survive this final extremity when the city of Jerusalem shall be taken, and the houses rifled or looted, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. Only 1/3. Whenever I see things like this, though, whenever there's like a fraction, it makes me think back to my mission when, what was his name? Gerald Renland? Gerald, I'm going to look it up. author of Work in the Glory. Gosh, I'm so Gerald N. Lund. Okay, so he spoke to us on my mission. He was talking about the 1/3 in heaven that were cast down, Satan and his followers, and he pointed out that it was a third part. That's how it reads in the scripture. So it may not have been according to him, it may not have necessarily been strictly 33.33333%, but a third, you know, out of like 3 groups, 1 group of the 3, a third part of all that there were. So, you know, you can think of that however you want. I'm going to keep an open mind when it comes to this right here, only 1/3. I don't know if that means strictly 1/3. What does this say? For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. You know what? No, I'm not going to read these, but how about we take a look really quick at what is the population of Israel? Israel country. Go here to the Wikipedia article. Let's see. Population 2021 estimate. Gosh, you guys, only 9,418,940. That is small. That is small. So, you know, roughly 1/3 of that, 1/3 of that remaining, over 3 million people. That's all that's going to be left if we're to take this literally. That is pretty horrific. That is really, really bad. Okay. Okay. Armageddon, the Deliverance, in what will be one of the blackest moments of Israel's history, just as it appears that they are about to be annihilated, the Lord's fury will be unleashed upon the kingdoms of the world, and the Lord will go forth and fight against those nations. The 2 prophets lying dead in the streets of Jerusalem will be resurrected in the sight of the people. After 3 days and a half, on a sudden, the Spirit of life from God will enter them. They will arise and stand upon their feet, and great fear will fall upon them that see them. And then they shall hear a voice from heaven saying, Come up hither. And they will ascend up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beholding them. And of course, I would assume that they're going to join Christ along with everyone at that point that has been translated, caught up. All the righteous of the church will be there to, I think, greet them up. I'm just assuming that, so I'm not going to say that's for sure. Number 2, an earthquake will strike the earth, affecting the whole world. An earthquake will strike the earth, affecting the whole world. The greatest earthquake the world has ever known. Now, do any thoughts come to mind to you at this point, talking about this earthquake? Hasn't President Nelson been talking a lot about the Salt Lake Temple and the renovations that are taking place? I know that was like one of the big things this conference is. He was talking about how the temple is going to be the safest place in the Salt Lake Valley if there's a big earthquake. Do you think maybe he's trying to prepare the Salt Lake Temple against this earthquake that's going to affecting the whole world? You guys, okay, let's go over here to the USGS earthquake map. Okay. Okay, let's look for a big earthquake. Looks like there's one over here by China that was a 6.2. We had this year a couple that were above 8.0 or 8.0 or above. I can't remember exactly where. I know one I think was like in Haiti. I'm pretty sure that was one of them, and I think there was another one over here um, near the Karamak Islands. It was like somewhere, I think it was somewhere over here in the Pacific. I could be wrong, okay? I can't remember. But, you know, you can look at earthquake activity here, right? You can go over here to settings. You can do all earthquakes, all magnitudes um, over the last 30 days. Okay, so this is what earthquake activity has looked like over the last 30 days. And let's see if let's sort it by magnitude. If you can do that, largest magnitude first. So I didn't know about this. On October 2nd, earlier this month, there was a 7.3 in this region. I don't know how to pronounce this. I've heard Vanuatu, Vanuatu. I don't know. But anyway, you can see this. There's earthquakes all the time, all over the place. Unfortunately, there's a lot over here in Oklahoma, and sometimes they get pretty close to my house. I actually felt one this year. It was like a 3.0. This right here would be Wichita. Anyway, California's always having them. Alaska, there's always earthquakes going on over there. Of course, they usually fall along these plate boundaries. But you guys, an earthquake that affects the entire world, that's like probably beyond that's probably beyond a 9.0. I think I remember somewhere reading about earthquakes and the magnitudes, and like 9.0 is like I think they like actually called it like biblical in, in its proportions. But I think that an earthquake that shakes the entire earth, that's gonna be something else. I think it's gonna be beyond a 9.0. So I just wanted to highlight that, you know, according to President Nelson, he's preparing for an earthquake to protect the Salt Lake Temple. Elder McConkie taught 3 natural changes in the earth, all apparently growing out of one transcendent happening, are here named in Revelation 16, verses 17 through 21, as attending our Lord's second coming. They are: 1. The earth's land masses shall unite, islands and continents shall become one land. So basically, they're going to become what they call Pangea, right? That was the supercontinent before they all split apart, according to modern day science and geology and so forth. And you know, because you'll remember from elementary and stuff, they talk about how South America, the way it's shaped, it looks like it fits right in here to Africa, and you know, you could just bring these land masses together, bring them all together. Right. So there's going to be one supercontinent, and it seems that it'll include the islands too, according to this. It says islands and continents. Number 2, every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain shall be made low. The rugged terrain of today shall level out into a millennial garden. So basically, everywhere will become Kansas. Okay. Kansas is the flattest state. They did that fun kind of like research project where they compared the topography of Kansas to an IHOP pancake, and topographically speaking, Kansas is actually flatter than an earthquake. Whoa! I don't want to. Okay, didn't want to do that. Okay, so everywhere is going to become Kansas. Number 3, such an earthquake as has never been known since man's foot was planted on this planet shall attend these changes in the earth's surface and appearance. And okay, yeah, so united lands, united continent, flat, and then earthquake. And then fourthly, as recorded elsewhere, the great deep, presumably the Atlantic Ocean, shall return to its place in the north, and the earth shall be like it was in the days before it was divided. So I want to read this really quick. because this is one of those 10 lost tribe things. Um, and he shall utter his voice out of Zion, and he shall speak from Jerusalem, and his voice shall be heard among all people. And it shall be a voice as the voice of many waters, and the voice of a great thunder, which shall break down the mountains, and the valleys shall not be found. He shall command the great deep, and it shall be driven back into the north countries, and the islands shall become one land. And the land of Jerusalem and the land of Zion shall be turned back into their own place, and the earth shall be like it was in the days before it was divided. I want to read a little bit more. And they who are in the north country shall come in remembrance before the Lord, and their prophets shall hear his voice, and shall no longer stay themselves, and they shall smite the rocks, and the ice shall flow down in their presence. This is going to be another video, because I don't know that this is necessarily chronological, but anyway, this isn't a 10 Lost Tribes video. Just go back and look at my go to my 10 Lost Tribes playlist. I already kind of talked about that. All right, moving on. The area around Jerusalem, which is now very hilly and steep, will be smoothed out and become a plain. That's according to Zechariah 14:10. And the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate into the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananeel unto the king's wine presses. All right, whatever. Sorry, that's not very respectful, is it? Okay, thank you, Zechariah. The Mount of Olives shall be split in two, providing an avenue of escape for the house of Israel. You guys call me stupid, but I did not know that. I thought that the Savior was going to come and split it in two. I knew that. I didn't know that it was supposed to be an avenue of escape for the house of Israel. So that's new to me. Call me stupid if you want. But and I'm telling you, I really have read so many different things. Books from Deseret Book. I've read the scriptures. I didn't get it. Sorry, but you know, maybe some of you didn't know that either. But that's what's supposed to happen. That's, I guess, the purpose of the Mount of Olives splitting into two. All the prophets speak of this day, and when that time comes, the Lord is going to come out of his hiding place. You can see what a terrible condition it is going to be, and the Jews besieged, not only in Jerusalem, but of course throughout Palestine, are in the siege. And when they are about to go under, then the Lord comes. There will be the great earthquake. The earthquake will not be only in Palestine. There will not merely be the separation of the Mount of Olives to form a valley. There will not merely be the separation of the Mount of Olives to form a valley that the Jews may escape, but the whole earth is going to be shaken. There will be some dreadful things take place, and some great changes are going to take place, and that you will find written in the book of Ezekiel. Number 4, as the Jews flee through this avenue of escape, they will see their Messiah, who has come to deliver them. In gratitude and joy, they will throw themselves at the feet of the deliverer and discover the wounds in his hands and feet. Suddenly, they will realize that their Messiah is the Messiah who came before, and the Jewish nation will be converted to their God. The Lord's fury upon the army of Gog will consist of other judgments in addition to the great earthquake. The armies of Gog will turn upon each other, perhaps in panic and confusion of the great earthquake. So there's going to be the big earthquake, and they're like, hey, wait a minute, you're not my friend. And then they're going to like turn on each other. Sorry, I'm not trying to make a mockery of that. I don't know why the earthquake would. I don't know. Okay, panic. Everyone just freaks out. Okay, I can go with that. A great rain of fire and hail will shower down upon the army. John said the hailstones will weigh a talent, which is about 75.6 pounds. That is quite heavy. Ezekiel stated that fire will also be sent against the land of Magog. Okay. Fire will also go against their land, where they're coming from. The account by Ezekiel could very easily be a description of atomic warfare. I'm surprised that they would put that in here in the manual. But yeah, sure, absolutely. I don't know a whole lot about nuclear bombs, but I wouldn't be surprised if they send really heavy rocks and boulders and stuff up into the air when they explode. I don't know. I don't know. Um, Isaiah described the fire's effect on the land itself. Let's see what that's like. Isaiah 34, 9 through 10. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. You shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. I mean, forever? Forever, ever? Forever, ever? Sorry, I didn't mean to bring Outcast into this. That's from the Sorry Miss Jackson song. Forever? Forever, ever? Forever? I'm so dumb. Okay. Okay, a plague shall strike the army, causing terrible disease and calamity. That's not hard to believe at all. Of course, nothing should be hard to believe in the scriptures, but sickness is historically one of the biggest killers during war. They make a big deal out of that in the military. I served in the army, and it's all about, well, first of all, you're given like 1 billion, you're given like 1 billion vaccinations in boot camp. They have a thing where, I wonder if there's like a picture. Boot camp vaccines. Please let there be a picture. Yeah, they have you line up like this, and you walk past like a bunch of different people that you like take a step forward, and then you get a shot in both arms. Then you take a step forward, and then you get a shot in both arms. And then and then to finish it off, you go up against the wall, and then they put one in your butt. It's called the peanut butter shot, and it hurts just because it's really thick, and you have to like massage it in. Sorry, I don't mean to give you all the visuals, but sickness in the military, it's a big deal, and there are wars where more people died from sickness than they did from actual combat. So anyway, it doesn't. Look at these privates. Oh gosh. I wish, sometimes I wish I had stayed in and become a drill sergeant. Oh, these guys. Okay. Good times. Good times. Okay, the result will be only 1/6 of the invading army will survive the Lord's judgments. Only 1/6. Only 1/6. So I'm guessing that those will be the righteous that are just, drafted into the military, that are pure of heart, but they're just unfortunately on the other side. But they'll be okay. And their power to make war will be destroyed. In Jerusalem itself, 7,000. 7,000, that's, there's 7 again. 7,000 will be slain, and 1/10 of the city destroyed. Oh my gosh, these are just big numbers, you guys. So great will be the devastation that for 7 years, Israel will be able to live off the spoils of the war left behind. It'll take 7 months to bury the dead. That is a freaking long time, and that's going to suck. And thereafter, burial teams will search out the remaining bodies in an attempt to cleanse the land. Isaiah said that the Lord hath delivered them to the slaughter, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Gross. Jeremiah stated that the Lord will give them that are wicked to the sword, and the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth, even unto the other. The slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other. So I wonder if that's referring to uh, the burning that's coming to the wicked. The wicked will be slain. Will give them that are slain, give them that are wicked to the sword. In this, I don't know. I don't know. The judgments of the Lord upon the armies of Gog is known in the scriptures as the great day of the Lord's sacrifice. I don't think I knew these names either. So the great day of the Lord's sacrifice, the Lord's controversy with the nations, the supper of the great God, and excuse me, the great winepress of the wrath of God. I honestly, I don't think I have heard of those before. So that's interesting. 6. Elder Charles W. Penrose summarized the foregoing list of events. Excuse me. The bankrupt nations, envying the wealth of the sons of Judah, will seek a pretext to make war upon them, and will invade the Holy Land to take a prey and spoil. So that's like after? Is he talking about after the war? I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, it's in this section, essentially, where Christ comes. So, the bankrupt nations, envying the wealth of the sons, will seek a pretext to make war upon them and will invade the Holy Land. Whatever, okay. Christ's next appearance after coming to his temple will be among the distressed and nearly vanquished sons of Judah. At the crisis of their fate, when the hostile troops of several nations are ravaging the city and all the horrors of war are overwhelming the people of Jerusalem, he will set his feet upon the Mount of Olives, which will cleave and part asunder at his touch. Okay, so no, this must be talking about part of the reason for the war. So we just read that it's partially going to be because of miracles that are performed by evil spirits to the kings of the world, the leaders of the world. But also it looks like for like economic reasons, they would, well, I don't know. I'm just gonna, this is just what it says. This is what it says. The bankrupt nations envying the wealth of the sons of Judah will seek a pretext to make war upon them. So miracles that deceive them and because of their wealth. Okay. Okay. Armageddon, the end or the beginning? Armageddon signals the end of the world, which is defined as the destruction of the wicked. So not the final end of the world where the earth becomes celestialized, but the end of the world for the wicked. For them, it's the end of the world. But it prepares the way of the ushering in of the millennial reign of Christ in the era of peace that will endure for 1,000 years. And this is going to conclude this whole thing. This is from who is this from? Who said this? Okay, President Joseph Fielding Smith. I know these are unpleasant things. It's not a pleasant thing even for me to stand here and tell you that this is written in the scriptures. If the Lord has a controversy with the nations, he will put them to the sword. Their bodies shall lie unburied like dung upon the earth. That is not that is not nice. Is it? Is it? But okay, that is not nice, is it? But we should we know it? Is not our duty to read these things and understand them? Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that aren't doing it. We need to know, and he's going to explain why. Don't you think the Lord has given us these things that we might know and might prepare ourselves through humility, through repentance, through faith, that we might escape from these dreadful conditions that are portrayed by these ancient prophets? I am praying for the end of the world. Honestly, I am too. I'm being completely serious. I've been praying, not for like punishment on the wicked because I want to see them suffer or whatever, but I'm like looking forward to Zion. I want Zion. I want just righteous people. I don't want to have to worry about locking my car, passwords, competing with people, dealing with all the evil that comes in this fallen world. So I think it's in this spirit that he's talking. Let's start right here. So I pray every day of my life that the Lord will hasten his work. And while all this has to take place, I hope he will hasten it, that it might soon come to an end, that peace may come. And so I repeat, as I said in one of the talks some time ago, I'm praying for the end of the world because I want a better world. I want the coming of Christ. I want the reign of peace. I want the time to come when every man can live in peace and in the spirit of faith, humility, and prayer. Amen. I think a lot of us are praying for the end of the world, especially nowadays. It's so ridiculous, you guys. It's so ridiculous. So, yeah, I can't find anything still that connects Elder Bednar or the name David to the two witnesses. I'm holding out hope, but that might be the case because that would be really amazing. Either way, no matter what happens, I think that he is important. I think that his name means something, David. I think it's important that he replaced David B. Haight. And he did specifically replace David B. Haight. Hammond and Elder Uchtdorf came in at the same time, but Elder Uchtdorf replaced Neil A. Maxwell. Yeah, I think it was Neil A. Maxwell. He had passed first, and then they called Uchtdorf. And then David B. Haight passed second, and Elder Bednar, he wasn't called until just within 24 hours before conference started. So he actually replaced the other David. So I feel like there's something to that. I feel like there's something to that. Okay, so yeah, this is a longer video, so I'm just going to wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we all learned something. I definitely learned stuff I didn't know before. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, hit the notification bell, leave comments, and if you have anything that goes against what we were reading, well, not against what we were reading, but if you have other theories or additional information, please leave sources. YouTube may delete it depending on what you're trying to post, especially links. So if that happens, then just email me. I have an email address. It's under the About tab of my YouTube channel. Let's learn as much as we can. And yeah, and I'll talk to you guys later.